Well, glory be and mercy me. We've done it yet again. Here we are on our daily walk around the graveyard. Today we're going to be talking about the embarrassing defeat of the NDP and a new mainstream poll that came out asking non-voters, 55% of the population, a major majority of people, decided, hey, let's just not vote in this last election. And so a pollster decided to say, hey, why didn't you vote, right? What are you not voting over? 10% of the population was just like, yeah, I forgot, right? Another 10% of the population was like, look, I couldn't get away from my work, my family, my job, all the kind of crazy stuff. Life is nuts, right? I couldn't get away, I couldn't do it. So you got 20% of the population basically being humans. Another 20% of the population says, you know what, I just don't think my vote matters, right? I just don't think it matters. The system itself is a problem, right? And that's a whole conversation that we can have. A huge chunk, 45% of the respondents said they don't see a difference between the Liberals, the NDP, and the Conservatives. Let's say it again, just so everybody knows what we're talking about. A full 45% of the people who did not vote said they did not vote because they see no difference between the worst government in Ontarian history, the NDP, and the Liberals. This is a complete and total indictment of the NDP. A massive embarrassment that they can't even mount an attack against an incompetent sociopath like Doug Ford. And the reason why is because when the populace looks at them, they just see another incompetent sociopath. This should be a massive alarm bell to the NDP. This should have people gonging and smashing bells and doing everything they can. This should be a 5 alert alarm. This should be 10,000 on the Scoville scale in terms of heat. People should be running around screaming it at the party that 45% of the populace cannot distinguish between the worst premier in the history of the nation by a lot and the NDP. And when you go and you actually talk to these NDP types and you actually tell them, hey, did you notice that everybody around you thinks that you're the same as the Conservatives? Their responses are extremely telling. That they do that Democrat thing where they push it off on the populace, right? They say, well, we've just got to do better informing people about the incremental piecemeal reformism of us propping up the capitalist system, right? These NDPers are detached and clueless. That they refuse to actually name the villain of the piece. They refuse to actually say that capitalism is the crisis. They refuse to actually out the wealthy. They refuse to actually say that the system is functioning on behalf of a sociopath class that is actively working to abandon the populace. They refuse to actually acknowledge that the crisis is a systemic crisis and that capitalism is the crisis. And if you actually say these things to an NDPer, they say the most charmingly obtuse thing you've ever heard. Well, we don't want to alienate the moderates. There's no moderates left in the society. If you walked up to a person who was drowning in a pool and you were standing on the outside of that pool and that person in the pool was screaming, help me, and you said, well, I don't want to get in the pool because I might alienate the moderates, people would think that you're a loser. And that's exactly what these NDP are. They're just enormous losers who have capitulated all of their power to the capitalist class. All they want to be is the leaders and the rulers of this failing and ailing little club of theirs so that they can feel good about themselves. They're no longer interested in helping the populace in any serious way. They're no longer interested in meeting the measure. They're no longer interested in doing what must be done. Their solutions are tepid idiocy, like walking up to a house fire with a thimble full of water and throwing it on and saying, problem solved, and then walking away, patting themselves on the back. This is true federally as well, by the way. This deal, if you want to call it that the NDP have struck with the Liberals to get dental care, which is never coming, is childish. The system of capital is in a free-fall collapse. The housing market is going up and up and up and up, and everybody's cheering because we've managed to have the tiniest little lull amidst the absolute barbarous buffet of just jamming more and more food in the face that the wealthy are pursuing in regards to the housing market. As they're just sweeping up more and more properties, everybody's going, well, the prices, they're as high as they've ever been, but they're not getting higher for a second, so that's God. You have to be like completely brain dead at this stage into the game to think that anything other than greed and maliciousness is driving this market. And yet, what's the NDP solution? Nothing. They're just going to build more houses for these guys to buy. That's it. That's their entire solution, because they've been bought. Now is the time to abandon these parties back. Now is the time to look at these Liberals, to look at these NDP, and completely abandon them back. They've abandoned you. They abandoned you a decade ago. You're just beginning to realize it. Now's the time to start putting your energy into literally anything else. I recommend your local Communist Party. I recommend going full in on the Communist Party, on the Communist Manifesto, on the communist idea, because we need to dismantle this failed capitalist society. And we know that these loser NDPers are not going to do it. They're just going to continue siphoning wealth along with the conservatives, which is why we can't distinguish the difference between them. Except when they do it, they're going to tilt their head and go, oh, sure, we'll give you one extra sick day. Who gives a shit at all? We have to surround the halls of power. We have to abandon these losers. We cannot move forward while drowning in a pool that they actively push us under while telling us that, oh, we're better than the guy that's doing the exact same thing. They're not. They never will be. They're too detached. They're too clueless. They're also landlords. They're also property owners. They're also capitalists. This failed system cannot be reformed, and anyone who tells you that it can be is your enemy. Abandon the NDP, join the Communist Party, surround the halls of power, stop fucking around. All right, this is the end of this one, guys. Like, share, subscribe, right? We have to be supporting leftist voices. I see more and more leftists getting banned off platforms every single day. I'm seeing the censorship regime coming down, the shadow banning. They're doing everything they can to ensure that messages like this do not get out there. They're doing everything they can to ensure that the populace just falls asleep while we accept this demonic fate. They don't want you in the streets. They don't want you surrounding the halls of power. And they certainly don't want people like me gaining any traction whatsoever. But we're going to anyway. Got a Patreon down below. Think about donating $1. All right, guys. Always remember, you're a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. A temporal refugee, if you like. The billionaire class is doing everything they can to ensure that you just don't realize it, and to make this place something other than the refuge that it should be. Revolt, rebel, repent. Good luck. we're going to need it.